1st of December. I'm excited for the next upcoming AAA horror game, The Callisto Protocol. I pre-ordered the Day 1 edition just so that I could be prepared for the day of release. But then, as I was scrolling through YouTube, I discovered this, which got me a little worried. Is this game not gonna live up to my expectations? So I decided to check on Steam. Now if you're smart, you might refund. But that ain't me. I played through it the first time in the hardest difficulty and my impression was... disappointed! And maybe seeing that title and those Steam reviews tainted my view on the game and primed me for disappointment. When it comes to horror games, I often don't watch reviews.
Listen to the Dead Space series.
Because I want a complete, fresh experience. Because sometimes knowing what's coming makes it a little less scary. And in this case, after I finished the game, twice, I watched several reviews, and all that criticized the game echoed my own opinions. 3 main points. The stutter, which is pretty much fixed now, by the way. Good job there. Sometimes frustrating combat. By the way, on the subject of combat, here's some interesting tricks I found out while playing. Having a hard time hitting tentacles? Don't use this upgrade. Instead, just grab your foe with a grip, put them down, and go to town. Wanna save energy? Instead of throwing your foe, put them down and then melee them into the spikes, or whatever have ya. Did you know you can perfect dodge? Just dodge right before the strike happens, which you can then follow up with a strong attack, which in my case always trigger tentacles, but then you can just use the grip trick. Just don't do perfect dodge in the hardest difficulty. It usually isn't worth it. Alright, final point of critique is the bad horror, which I want to mostly focus on. But who am I to talk and criticize horror? Look, horror is one of my favorite genres. I love getting spooked. Or having an existential crisis, being disturbed, or having a panic attack.
Holy Jesus.
I understand perfectly well that horror is very subjective. What I find scary might not frighten you. There's so many fears and phobias, some rational, some irrational. There's the fear of ghosts, dogs, spiders, ducks, deep sea, women, and the IRS. It really takes a lot of thought and effort to convince everyone to be specifically afraid of your game. So let's talk about this tag, survival horror. I've heard light survival horror being tossed around, but this game is as much a survival horror as Doom. To me, the most important thing to survival horror means meaningful deduction in every combat scenario. What do I mean by that? If you happen to be in a scenario where you have to fight, it's always a deduction to something precious, health, ammo, or some other resource. And the scarcity of those resources is what makes it more meaningful when you happen to lose any of it. And that can add or elevate the horror experience. You might get nervous thinking, do I have enough for the next encounter? In Callisto, you can pretty much shoot to your heart's content. Alright, maybe not that much, but the game is quite generous with ammo. You take damage? Whatever, there's so much health laying around, and most of the time you'll just die anyway, because you can't heal mid-combat, and you take a lot of damage, or even get one-shotted. But that's whatever, you'll just restart 5 to 10 seconds before that encounter. So instead, what you'll end up doing is just to sell the extra health and even the ammo, because you know that the game will treat you with enough of it anyway. Is that survival horror? I disagree. I guess you could call it action horror, which is fine. Or light survival. But alright, let's talk about the horror. So the price is 60 euros. It's labeled as AAA, for what that is worth. We got some of the devs that worked on Dead Space.
Come over here and kiss me on my hot mouth.
And Glenn Schofield is on the helm. That kind of sets some expectations, wouldn't you agree? My expectations was to get really skilled. But then, what is really scary? Let's check with Glenn.
You know, I love it when camera's over there, and I'm like, okay, where are they gonna show it? And then it gets me from someplace else. That kind of scares me.
Yeah, Glenn likes his jump scares, and this game is full of them. He mentioned in that same interview that he wants to get ya. You're gonna get jump and think that you're good for the next 5 minutes. Wanted to get you again! In an effort to really mess with you, make it unpredictable, and to catch you off guard. However, what he didn't thought of is, what if you grew numb to it? There's no break or sense of relief to ease you back into terror. Well, you won't be that tense to begin with. You are constantly in this state of frights and jump scares. And most of them are really predictable. I mean, look at this one. What do you think is gonna happen? Is it gonna be A, nothing? B, yeah, nah, it's gonna be F. Yeah, great job. So even if you are easily startled, the jump scares are not gonna work on you, I swear. You walk into this room thinking, yeah, there's no way I'm walking out of this without something popping out. And then we have these heads and grubs. I mean, sheesh. Yes. Swear to God. Huh? What the hell was that? They are sprinkled everywhere throughout the game. Heads less so, but these grubs will hide in so many lockers and chests. When they get you, you're gonna have to smash that QTE prompt. And after a couple, you're just gonna exhale in frustration. But how do they create terror or horror? Is it really all just jump scares? Well, they use something they call horror engineering. Basically, it's a template that contains these 5 things that has to be perfected in order to create a scenario that's scary. So let's briefly dissect these 5, starting with brutality. And yeah, this game is quite violent. You can even be brutal to your foe. It also boasts brutal death animations. The intention is to shock the player, or to gross you out sometimes. They can be quite morbid. Jacob might lose his arm and be conscious long enough to realize how screwed he is. This one is just funny. Just straight out from Tom and Jerry. The problem is, you'll quickly grow tired of them since they're so long and you die quite often. So brutality? Checked. The death animations in particular is the highlight. But not enough to warrant more to be sold separately! Yo, what the fuck? Let's move on to the next one. Atmosphere. Tension also included. This is gonna be mostly about sound and lighting. And look at that beautiful lighting. Mwah! Anyone could just make something dark and call it a day. But this here takes real talent. And sound, specifically related to horror. Let's use this room again as an example. Shh! Sounds amazing. Really spooky. You can even inspect the dryer that's on, and of course. And you see one problem right there. They gotta release this tension immediately. Glenn just can't hold himself. He has to shake you. And this is coming from the guy who were involved in making this. And that's it. It's mostly creepy whispers. If that was Callisto, there would be something in the stalls. Alright, so we have atmosphere to enhance tension, but we need something to fear. Otherwise, we're just multiplying by 0. So let's go over these two. Atmosphere, these moments of build-up are uncommon, but when they do, it adds a certain mood, at the very least. So let's put a check on that. And tension? None. And that's mostly because of the next point, helplessness. Now, you don't need to be completely helpless in order to feel fear. Maybe the game will hand you a gun, which will then make you think, I'm gonna have to face whatever's out there. But then we might need good survival horror to make ourselves feel vulnerable. Shame, ain't it? But let me ask you this. In Callisto, what is there to fear? Is it the jump scares? The mutants? No! I don't think I need to say more about the jump scares.
Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck, man?
But the mutants? When you face the first grunt, you are at the lowest point in terms of self-defense. You only have this crowbar, and you might die a few times when trying to learn the ropes. So the game will get you familiarized with this foe right from the start. With the bare essential, the melee. You immediately face multiple of them even, but then you get the hang of it, and start to kill them with relative ease. So alright, you might think they're just a fodder. Just a foe that's fun to kill, and not to fear. Maybe there's something out there that's more terrifying. Then you face this guy. Literally the same foe, except they spit. Alright, so again, just kill them. Invisible foes. They try to tense you up with this one. Grab him and blast him. We have these blind foes. They usually patrol in large groups, and has a severe case of selective hearing. At this point, the game really wants to hammer in that you need to be quiet. Shh, don't let them hear you. But why? Just kill them. They're as strong as the grunt, if not weaker. Kill them all! The game will reward you for doing so. See them sleeping in a wall? Wakey wakey. Sleeping while standing? Yoink! Sometimes the game likes to remind you, during this section, to be quiet at all times with encounters like this. You walk or jog, and we're gonna come out of the vent and... So yeah, you'll kill everything on sight, at all times in this game. And why shouldn't you? You always gain from it.
Whoa, what the hell?
And by the way, Striking Studios really believes that all of these mutants are scary. I mean, look at this. What am I supposed to feel here? Nervous? You're supposed to be scared that, oh my god, maybe that thing can get in the vent. You really think we're scared of these? Why? The blind ones? Yeah, just murk 'em. Check this one out. You get ambushed by these two grunts, enter the vent to the right, and... Is this the time to pull off something subtle like this? You follow the blood, hear some noises, and... See what I mean with constant frights and scares? Anyway, back on track. So what is it that is supposed to make you feel helpless? Let's take a look at Jacob. Jacob is a regular dude, except he is a tough fighter and armed to the teeth. Perhaps it's the fact that the enemies are so dangerous, they can kill you with ease. Yeah, well, so can Jacob. He grab, he bash, but most importantly, he blast. Jacob can just dodge all his worries away. Seriously, even bosses. So helplessness is a big no. And lastly, there's humanity. It pretty much means your investment towards the characters in the game. And I'll say this, I like Jacob. I like all the characters. They're not great, but I think they're okay. But does it add anything to the horror? When you like a character, you obviously don't want them to get hurt or killed. See how all these things are connected? When you see Jacob getting brutally murked by these rabid creatures, I didn't really feel much, except frustration every now and then. So I guess it didn't really work on me.
In conclusion, this game is not a tiny bit scary. The only time I actually got the heebie-jeebies was at the start, the first time I played. And that was it. Never did I even get jump scared. What happened to...
The Callisto Protocol is mastering horror.
This horror engineering sounds really good on paper, and when you listen to these videos of the devs talking about how to craft this setting to inflict terror in you, you believe them, to really think that they know what they're doing. Well, sometimes. They do say some vague stuff that doesn't really mean much.
What is fear?
Fear is such a basic part of who we are.
And how can we use it?
With horror, there's no rules.
But all in all, I thought they had a pretty good idea on how to make you scared. But after all that talk, this was the product. And this was supposed to set a new bar? Funny how Glenn seemed to walk back on this though.
I wasn't looking to outdo Dead Space.
It wouldn't be because Dead Space remake is coming out soon,
However, I completely understand this statement, so I believe Glenn. I want to also say that even though I was disappointed in Callisto, I'm still gonna look forward to what Striking Studios makes next, because I don't think Callisto has a lack of passion. There's more I can rant about Callisto, but I just want to stick with this one topic, and that was the horror, because that's the most important thing to me. I may have felt buyer's remorse when I beat the game for the first time, but I really want to support Striking Studios. And that's it. Thank you truly for watching my video. It was my first review-like video, and I like making it. Hope to see you again in the next one.
What? Oh, I see. Weirdo.